cried. I was so angry.
I didn't cry because it felt she was trying to make me cry, so therefore I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. So I didn't.
Little indignant Dawn over here. No.
Welcome to the Novel Universe with Ashley and Dawn, book club buddies who love to read YA fiction. We'll discuss the good, the bad, the ugly, and oh my gosh, we need to talk about this right now. I'm Ashley, the fantasy architect.
And I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
So grab something sweet or salty and join our universe.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming back to the Novel Universe. Dawn and I are going to be discussing Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin, which is book 2 in the Serpent and Dove trilogy. There are going to be spoilers and non-spoilers, but if you haven't read book 1, you're going to want to hop out now because none of this is going to make any sense and it's going to be filled with a bunch of spoilers for you who has not read it. And if you haven't read it, come back and read it, listen to it, and tell us what you think. So, Dawn, what'd you give this book?
I gave it a 1.5.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe a 2. Closer to a 2.
Okay.
This book was agony. I had to read 3 chapters and put it away for 3 hours and read 3 more chapters because if I didn't do that, I would start skimming. And I can't skim if I'm going to give like a review, like a good review. So yeah, I had to do that all week. So
that is brutal. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, so I gave this a 3.5.
Okay.
I could not give this book a 4. I think because I loved book 1 so much. Like, I gave book 1 a 5. Like, book 1 was amazing. Like, I enjoyed every single bit of what was happening, and it was new, and it was exciting, and I was ready for book 2. And book 2 is, it's your standard filler book. I thought that this was going to be a duology. So that was my bad, because I went into this thinking, like, we're going to get some closure. Everything is going to get summed up how it's supposed to be. I'm going to get a little bit of character sprinkle over here, a little bit more world building over here. And I did not realize until I was getting towards the end of this book that none of my questions were being answered because guess what? It's book 2.
Oh, no.
So I was like having the same issue that you were having where I was like reading it and I'm like, is this just like trudging along? Like, what is going on? Why are we circling in all of these different areas? Come to find out, it's a trilogy. So we're going to start with our dislikes. I think for me, one of my biggest dislikes was the pacing. There's a sense of urgency, yes, but was it necessary? Like, was it necessary for us to spend 10, pages over with them, in the woods, and they're hiding from Morgana, and they're trying to get clearance to this other witch camp, and, then they get into the witch camp. Well, now we're gonna, hop out again, and we're gonna go over here, and we're gonna go. It was just, I felt that Shelby was trying to make us feel this urgent need to get this task accomplished, but I did not like how it was done.
Yes. That's not my biggest dislike, but that is one of them. My biggest dislike is that this is a familiar plot, and she didn't do anything new to it. So this is your standard enemies have to come together to fight the bigger threat. Mm-hmm. I've seen this done better in Game of Thrones, The Witcher, and I believe Lord of the Rings. Isn't that? Well, they're all coming together to defeat. Yeah. What is it? So, okay, yeah. So I've seen this already, and I've seen it done way better. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with doing a familiar plot. That's standard. All plots have been recycled. That's not a problem. But you have to do something different with the characters and the world. And I think she tried with the magic that she had in her world with the balance and magic and balance, which I think that's canon. I think that's magic canon, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So she still didn't do enough with that. She did some interesting stuff, but not enough. And I'll say more of that in a spoiler section. But the characters and their relationships were just not special or new. And that was pretty much the demise of this book for me. I've read this story already, and I've read it way better.
I agree with a lot with what you said there. Yeah. I think it goes into my second dislike, which is the growth of the characters. That was one of my biggest hiccups in this book, is that I had growth in some characters that I really didn't care two flips about. And then some other characters just remained very stagnant, and some I didn't get anything from them. And that was a shame, because the scale of the growth of everyone, they're all banding together, right? I felt like I got a little bit more of some secondary characters and not enough of others that I was really looking forward to.
So, yeah, I had the exact same problem. I thought the character development was either underdeveloped or it was poorly written. So, I don't know. We'll talk about Ansel in the spoiler section. But the king was a cartoon villain. I don't know what the hell that was. Though, he was your standard cheeky kind of guy. I typically like that kind of guy, but he had potential because we got to hear a little bit about how he felt about his family, but then it was only one sentence, and then he just became a side character that was a throwaway. And Coco was pointless. And Jean-Luc, I really liked the Jean-Luc Reed Lou dynamic in the first book. I'm like, where is she going to go with this? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And there's some characters that came back, and I'm like, what's the point? I thought we dropped them off back there. Why are they coming back in? And then nothing. You're making me get all excited about a few characters that came back in from the first book, and then they just disappeared.
Yeah.
For me, that's a giant plot hole. Where did they go? Why are you making me excited about them? Why am I starting to have all these feelings about them again? I thought that this was old news, and now I'm paying attention to what's happening. And then all of a sudden, they just they just fell off the page.
Girlfriend, I know exactly who you're talking about. Because as soon as it happened, I was like, I went backwards. I was like, wait, did I miss something? What just happened? What the hell was that? Oh, God.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm being generous with my rating, too, you guys. I think it's because I love the first book, okay? I really did. And there are a bunch of people on Goodreads and all over YouTube land that there is a very very mixed consensus of this book and their feelings. They either really love it or they're like, what the hell did I just waste my life on?
Yeah.
Because this book is super hyped up. Shelby gives us a bunch of little secret snippets about why the book is going to be great. And there was only one part of it that I was like, ooh, okay. And the rest I'm like, why are you doing that to me, girl? Why are you doing that? Because now I can't trust you. I can't trust you no more. So yeah, do you have another dislike? I'm sure you do.
Oh, I got tons.
Okay, let it rip, girl. Let it rip.
Okay, so I thought, and I kind of thought this in book one, and this was one of my bigger gripes in book one. Book one, I had a 4, but I probably will drop it down to a 3.5. I thought the dialogue was incredibly elementary, but the stream of conscious of these characters was way more insightful. I mean, some of their banter was just if I had to read about titties and freaking sex and just stupid banter one more time, but then they'd have these deep thoughts about, is my magic making me evil? And, about his family, his new mom and his new brother. And then titty jokes. I'm like,
or sexism, if you will. You can pull that one in there as well, because there were so many times where I was like, that was sexist. No one saw that. No one. And then now we're having these deep, intimate conversations where it's like that's supposed to be where you're pulling the growth for these characters and applauding the writing style, and it's like titty titty bang bang over here. Like, what's going on? Like,
I didn't hate the titty titty bang bang. I thought it was funny in the first book, but I didn't need it in book 2. And it was at times where it was very like important, intense moments, and then that comes out, and oh, okay.
We learned that Reed is now a witch, correct? You know, he was a Shashar, is that how you say it?
Saucier.
A Saucier. You know, and at the end of book 1, we learned that actually he is a witch. And he has powers.
Of course he does.
I did not like the fact that we didn't explore Reed's magic in a deeper level. Like, all of a sudden, he's, like, having to learn how to use it, and Lou's trying to, like, show him. And I'm like, there is no connection here. And then when he gets into a bind, all of a sudden, he just knows what chords to pull, you know, to be able to get what he needs. But yet it's, like, causing him to be on the verge of death at times. Like, magic has consequence. Why are we all of a sudden just letting things happen? I don't know. I wasn't impressed with that, because male witches are not supposed to have magic, even though they're considered a witch. So why are we not going deeper into this? Maybe she's going to go deeper into it in book 3. I'm not sure. But I was unimpressed with that.
I think that was because, well, I see what you're saying, that he would use magic and then it really wasn't explained how. And I agree, like, she didn't really go into it. But I think because he spent so much part of the book, like, trying to denounce it or suppress it, that she was trying to go that way with this book. And then maybe his magic will be explored more. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, my point.
I felt like the themes in this book were really on the nose. All of them were. And I will go into it a lot more in the spoiler edition, because I try to pick out themes, because in my opinion, themes make a book critical as opposed to a fluffy book. And she's trying to be critical here. Trying is the key word. But the themes were like either said out loud and then they were just kind of forgotten about, like, or it was like a doy. I know that, I'm not stupid. So at one point, I think Devereaux like tells Reed that he's seeking a family connection. Well, duh, kind of spoiler, he killed the Archbishop. That was his family. So, of course, he just found his mom. He just found a brother. Of course, he's looking for a connection. It's like, so it was either a big duh or it was dropped entirely or not explored well. And I felt like she dumbed down this book compared to the first book.
Yeah. Which is a shame. It's a real shame.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know if this suffers from second book syndrome, or if it's just because book 1 got so much hype, and so she tried to go in a different way, and maybe because she's trying to set it up, she felt like she had to put all these fillers. I don't know. Or maybe it's just poor writing. Don't know.
I think it's all of the above. It seems to me that Sarah J. Maas is her mentor and Jesus Almighty, and so maybe she's trying to expand her world by adding werewolves. And I mean, we already knew there was another coven, but then we got what was her name? The little cuckoo one from the Blood Coven that kept following around. Not Coco, the other one who ate hearts. whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Nicolina?
Yeah.
Nicolina.
I think that's her name.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So we've added her. We've added, I don't know. Oh, Devereaux and his band of merry, revelers. She's adding all these characters to kind of expand her world. And so, Sarah J. Maas did that with Throne of Glass. And I'm thinking maybe that's what she's trying to do. Maybe she's trying to get an 8-book deal instead of a 3-book deal. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
I don't have any more dislikes that are not spoilers, so.
Yeah, I think my last little thing is like I was annoyed. I was annoyed by some characters, and I won't say who or whom until our spoiler section. But we can go into likes. I did have one like.
I actually had a lot of likes.
Yeah, like I have a little bit more too, but I think like mine in particular, without it being a spoiler, is that I liked that the magic was darker in this book. I feel like there are some fantasy writers that like their book starts off really well, and a lot of them always try to minimize how dark the magic gets. And there was a lot of dark magic here. There's a lot of consequences here. There's this constant, fight for good, but then they're being pulled back to the other side. Like, so a lot of our characters are struggling with that in this book. And I really did like that because it just, in my opinion, shows that the stakes are higher. You want to be able to achieve X, Y, and Z. Guess what? It's going to be tougher than just killing this person. It's a battle within, which is, I think, where Mahurin is trying to go with that, with each of our characters who have power and those who are powerless. How do they mature and how do they help grow each of these other individuals in their merry band? So, yeah, that's my first like.
Actually, I had several likes, believe it or not, but they're like nitpicks, if that's a thing. Just minor. I did feel like there were a couple of moments of introspection here, but nothing happens to it. So at one point, it's towards the end, and they have to, Reed and Lou have to split again. And he says, he's talking about magic, and he says, "Don't let it take you somewhere I can't follow." I thought that was a really good line, but they argued the whole time, and I was just freaking over it. I don't like this couple. I don't ship them at all. And so that was one like. I liked the twins. I don't remember their names. They started with the T in the merry band. Ernie and Taines. I don't know. I liked them. Along with what you were saying about the dark magic, I liked her attempt at making Morgaine like really dark and like willing to do whatever she can do, if it even means killing innocents, like real innocents. She does not care. So I like that creates a sense of who's next or what she's going to do now. She has no empathy. I kind of like that she made her a really good, well, I won't say a good villain, but she made her a truly evil villain. We didn't get enough of her, so that was a dislike. I did like the whole tampering with memories can change you. I thought that was a good idea. I've never heard that before. And that's kind of what I liked about book one. In the first, 5 chapters, I thought book one was really good. And what I really did like was, I don't know if there was a moment, I can't remember when it was, but I don't know if it was when they were in Tremblay's house or right before, but she has to take a really good memory about Bass. And it just really hurt her to do that. I thought that was done really well. So I like this idea of, your memories can change you, even though it was, what is it? Spotless Sunshine of the Mind. I can't remember the name of the book, or name of the movie, but it's kind of that idea. But and lastly, what's it called? The Madagon, the cat. that kept popping up. It was kind of like there to help.
Mm-hmm. The dark spirit is what it is. So, like, these dark, like, these shadow animals essentially come to those that are, like, their hearts are heavy and they're in torment inside, like internal torment. So they're there to, like, help them. And throughout the book, that was also one of my likes, is that first they're following Reed, and then they're following Lou, and then Lou has a whole merry band of them following her. So that I thought was done well, because to me that just reminds me of, like, the whole, you know, the Darkling thing from God's Grave, like, because we just saw that again in The Other Side of the Sky that we just talked about. So, and another one of my likes was, I think that when you do a villain, like, a villain has to be done well, and there also has to be, like, some sympathy that comes with that villain, right? You know, that there was a point where they turned. There's also moments, in my opinion, that a villain goes back to, like, but what if I wasn't this way, you know? And I really felt that Morgan, however we want to say her name, she really stepped into this, you know, the mother and whatever, like, the goddess.
Crone.
The crone. The whole crone, like, trio. She really stepped into her birthright, and she was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give up my daughter. I'm going to kill her because it's going to save us all. Like, boom. You know, but then we see, like, a bunch of flashbacks, and then it's like, okay, but does she still have, like, that love for her daughter in her heart? Can she ever actually truly get rid of that? You know, so I don't know. That was one of my likes, is that I wrote down, she's one wicked mama. That girl is, like, always 10 steps ahead of Lou and Reed and Coco and all of them, and it's just like, dang, they just can't seem to get rid of her. They can't, you know. She's got, I don't know, I think it just attests to, like, Lou's inexperience. You know, Lou isn't that old. Lou has not been doing this for years and years and years like her mother has. You know, she's not going to be 100 steps ahead of everyone, you know. And so that also makes me think back to a bunch of other characters that I've read before, and they are 100 steps ahead, but they are constantly thinking that way. They're constantly thinking about what's going to happen. There were some parts that I really liked with Coco. Like, I really liked Coco, and I really liked Ansel's characters. Ansel was one of those people that I was, like, rooting for in book one and in this book. I was like, come on, buddy, come on, you know. Yeah, and there were just a couple other things that I was like, ooh, that's kind of nice. But I don't want to talk about them too much because I don't want to give away any spoilers. So,
yeah. But
that's all I have written down that I could spoil.
That's all I had.
Okay. So, guys, we are going to be jumping into the spoiler edition of this podcast. So if you have not read this book, please pop out now and come back when you have read it. And we will be starting spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Okay.
My first thing that I want to talk about. How does Lou, like, come into this, like, possession of where she's, like, turning, but I don't know when that switch happens and why it happens.
The only thing I can surmise is that because at some point Reed says, I want you to stop trading memories for to heal and to, you know, the balance thing, because like I said in the spoiler-free, tampering memories can change you as a person, and I think she keeps doing it anyway, and it's changing her. That's the only reason I can come up with.
Okay, because I was, like, trying to find, like, that exact moment, and I'm like, I can't, like, put my finger on it, because, of course, like, towards the end of the book, there's something that happens to Lou, and you're like, okay, well, that's obvious, but she's had this downward spiral happening since the beginning. where she's having to give up memories, because that's why we keep seeing all those moments with her and her mom when she was younger, and she's just like giving them away. So then maybe that's how she's losing herself. That was my first thing that I wanted to like talk about, because I was like, when did that happen? Like, that's another little plot hole, you guys. Like, it's not explained at all. There's not this moment that all of a sudden you're like, oh, homegirl's like losing it.
Okay, I kind of wanted to talk about my first dislike in the spoiler-free edition, where I said that this is a familiar plot with the enemies banding together to fight the bigger threat. And I said that it's been done before in Game of Thrones and a whole bunch of other stuff. But my problem in this story is that Mahurin doesn't create a feeling of dread or like we like, what's the word where you have to like hurry up and get it together, because if you don't, you're all gonna die. Like, she doesn't build that tension at all. It's just like, oh, let's go ask those werewolves over there. They'll help us, because they don't like Morgaine either. Well, why? What did she do to the werewolves? Where did these werewolves come from? Why do I care about these werewolves? I don't. Mm-hmm. And so in like Game of Thrones, the biggest threat is the Night King. And for a while, we start to see what he does to Daenerys and what he does to Cersei, and you get this feeling of, oh my God, if they don't stop him, it is complete annihilation. Mm-hmm. I never got that sense from this book that Morgaine is complete annihilation. It was just, we don't like her, but we don't like you either, so peace. So and that was my problem with like I said, that's part of it. It's all connected with the familiar plot, and she didn't really develop that well. And I think she spent so much time on Reed and Lou that she just sacrificed so much other stuff. And this was one of them. And it shouldn't have been, because this is the plot of the book. You need to create some tension here. You need to create some excitement or something. Never got it.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest nitpicks. I mean, like, for me, because mind you, like I keep saying, but like I ate up the first book, right? Like I was like, ooh, I want to hear what's going to happen next, because the story was flowing. We were moving, like the plot was going, like everything was very cohesive. And with this one, I was like, I feel like we need to be going somewhere. You know what I mean? Like there's this little urgent knock in the back of my brain, like we got to keep going. But why? But why? But why am I trying to run over there? Why am I going all over this whole entire French, country? And I'm going to see werewolves. Where did they come from? Okay, but so you're tying it back to Reed, right? So because Reed slayed the Wolf King, if you will. Yeah. They killed his son. Okay, so he had to kill his son as his rite of passage. I'm sorry. What? Like, for the Balisarda and all of that, but, like, we're learning about Reed's magical knife that he has. Like, what? Why were these not hints before? Because they're brought up in the first book, and you're like, okay, obviously that's important. But I feel like where we were traveling with Lou and Reed, it was that they're constantly fighting with each other because they're constantly at odds, because Lou's going down a dark path and Reed doesn't know what the hell he believes in because he's been raised to believe something else. Now he's that something else that he was told to hate. What? How does it? So of course he's going to be moody and mopey and not know what he wants in the world. But I don't want to read about it, like, every single page, and that's what sucked, is because in the first book I looked forward to their moments of interaction with each other, and then all of a sudden they're just together too much, and they're trying to conquer these big moments in their lives that are shaping them as people and in their future, and it's like they don't know each other. They have been together for months, just a few months. That's it. Like, how are you going to know what he's thinking? How are you going to say that, if you continue to do this, like, I'm going to come after you, like, where is this deep intimacy coming from? So there was like all these little spots that I was just like, okay, you know, and then we get into the blood witch, if you will, the blood witch camp, you know, where they're like, they eat your blood, so therefore they can now control you and whatnot. And now Lou has to pass some tests to find this guy that's been missing. And then, where is it coming from?
It's like a 2-year-old. It's a 2-year-old. You like gotta find this guy. It's a baby. One thing that really bummed me out, and it could just be because I think we're both critical. Well, I don't think, I know. We're critical readers, and so we're just kind of used to like finding themes and symbolism and everything. And when a book doesn't have it, or does it poorly, it really bothers me. And so I felt like this book did it poorly, very poorly. In particular, the nature versus nurture theme, which is what I think was the overall theme of this book. But the way Mahurin handled it, it was like pretty simple and inconsequential. Mm-hmm. Nature versus nurture is a very common theme. And the way that you make it your own is you have to, you know, fit it into your world and your characters. And it makes it special. But beyond Lou struggling with was I born this way or did my mom make me this way? And same thing with Reed. Was I born this way or did the Archbishop make me this way? That's kind of it. We don't really see it too much in other people. And so therefore there's a limit to her theme. And like I said, she's trying to do something here, but she failed as it being critical. And I was trying to think of another book that actually did it better. And Ninth House is a book that comes to mind because it has a very common theme of I want to be somebody. I want to be something. But it's not just limited to Alex and Darlington. And the way that they deal with it is it fits their personal journey. And so when we meet Darlington, we see this, you know, he comes across as wealthy and, you know, charming, but he's none of those things. And he's trying so desperately to be someone that he's almost killed himself. And Alex, there were moments where she had these memories, and her and her friend they were homeless at the time, and they would go sit at a college campus and just sit on the quad and look through the catalog and just like point to classes that they wanted to take because they really wanted to be somebody. And the same thing with Sandow, you know, he felt inferior to all these teens that were in these houses and he wanted to be someone, and Bellbaum, and just like everybody in that book it was tailor made to their situation. We didn't get any of that in this book. It was very simple. It was told directly to you. Like I said in the spoiler free, where Devereaux tells Reed, you're looking for a connection. At no time in Ninth House does anybody say to anybody, you want to be somebody. That never happens. It's never explicitly told to the reader. You can see it. You can infer. Mm-hmm. And that is what, in my opinion, makes this book a 1.5, because there's an attempt, but there's also, I don't know if her publisher, I feel like her first book, she really tried to do something, and then her publisher was like, dumb it down. It was like the first couple of chapters in, what's it called? Serpent and Dove. Uh-huh. It was almost as if it was written by a different person. Yep. We were dropped right into the story. We had to, which is hard to do. We had to sift our way out. There were moments where, what's her name? Lou is like talking to us as the reader, and she doesn't say everything. We kind of have to infer, I believe, when she's running from Tremblay's house and she gets cornered by those two guys. And right before she snaps, she has a flashback to something traumatic that happened in her life. She doesn't say what it was. Yep. And if you blink, you missed it. And I was like, oh, wow, this is some really good level writing here. I like this. And then at some point, it started to turn into Big Titty Liddy. I was like, oh, okay, now we're dumbing it down. And this book really got dumbed down in the second one. So I don't know if it's her publisher, her editor. She has such potential to write critically. I just wish they would just let her do it. Just let her do it.
I think someone told her not to. I think literally someone told her, like, you need to switch this and, like, put more easy pickup implications as to what a theme is. I'm sorry. This is not a middle school book. to be reading at all. This is a very deep book. There are deeper themes within this book. There is, relational differences. There's diversity. There's a lot of stuff going on here. There's dealing with trauma. There's dealing with mommy and daddy issues. There's dealing with I didn't want to be thrown into this situation, and now I'm in it. So what am I going to do? How am I going to overcome this? There is a lot of deeper issues that teens are dealing with. Talk to them like grown-ups that they are. They can handle it. They do not need to be force-fed. You look like you're trying to figure out the meaning of life. Okay, that's blatantly obvious that that's what I'm trying to do here. I've only been struggling to do X, Y. You know what I mean? So I agree with you there, because it's like I said, that's why I love book 1 so much. That's why I was excited to read the second one, because I'm like, we have something different here. There's someone that's actually trying to write something critically for a YA book. Okay, let's do it. And unfortunately, I felt like I was reading a different book. When I went into this, I was like, why am I not enjoying this as much as I was the first time? And I just read the first one. I was just in this book, It's not like I waited a whole year to be able to get there. So why am I getting uncomfortable? And I don't want to spend the time to read this, which is sad, And then there's plot holes in this book. There's a part where Reed challenges, the Wolf King. Basically, if he survives, they will help them. They'll help them, fight against Morgan or whatever. Reed gets wounded, okay? Badly wounded. Then Lou freezes the ice because she's like, I gotta help him because I love him, and he told her not to help her. Well, whatever. So that happens. He's still bleeding. He's talking with the Wolf King, and then they decide, oh, there's danger coming. We should probably go help them. How does Reed's arm get fixed? Anybody? Nobody saw that. We're not still bleeding out on on the snow. You know what I mean? And then what is it? Celie? Is that how you say her name?
Yeah, that's how I was saying it.
Celie. Okay. His first freaking love, right? Okay. Reed's first love in book 1. He gave up being with her so he could formally pursue this whole Cheshire's lifestyle, right? And be a good little mini archbishop, follower, doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He can't be involved in anyone, yada, yada, yada. And now all of a sudden, she's part of this plot that we have to go and save her. She's in her dead sister's coffin? Not the person that I thought was in there, by the way. I don't know who I was, expecting to be in there. I was, maybe. I think I had thought it was going to be, one of Baz's sisters. That's what I was thinking, because Baz is the prince, or Bo. Sorry, Bo. One of Bo's sisters, okay? That's what I was thinking. It had to be one of his family members. And all of a sudden, this homegirl shows up, and it's like...
I guess that was their way of getting Jean-Luc and the Chauciers to work with them. So now we got the werewolves, the blood witches, kinda, the other witches, whatever their name is, and then the Chauciers. I don't. And Bo.
Let's just throw Bo in there, poor guy.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I thought that was dumb too.
I might bring my rating down to a 3, you guys.
No.
When I think about those moments, because I wrote them down, and I'm like, that was a big deal. That was a big deal, in this whole story.
Let's talk about Ansel, because that's a big deal. What the hell was that?
I cried. I was so angry.
I didn't cry because it felt she was trying to make me cry, so therefore I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. So I didn't.
Little indignant Dawn over here. No, not crying. Yeah, no, I was like, no, because Lou is like, I have to save him, so I'm going to talk trash to him, so he ends up leaving.
Oh, my God. For a paragraph.
And it's like, but the things that she said, I was like, girlfriend, no, this is like one of your best friends. Like, he's become one of your best friends, and you are just putting him through the dirt, and the kid dies.
His whole storyline was dumb. Like, okay, why was Lou teaching him to fight?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was that? And then she only had 2 sessions with him, and one of the sessions she was showing off. And then what was that whole thing with Coco? And she was like, oh, I kissed him because I wanted to. And what the hell was that? Like, and then he just dies. I'm like, this poor, pointless character that she just created for nothing. Just, I call this emotional warfare when an author purposely puts this character, makes you love them, and then just kills them. Mm-hmm. And they didn't really have much going on, except that they were a nice person or a kid. They like to do that too, which she did. Just kill a kid. Let's get to know this little Gabby girl and let's kill her off. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was upset because I felt like we were missing pieces to Ansel's story because, like, mind you, we're being told that we're supposed to like him. We're supposed to be buddy-buddy with him, you know, and there's a reason why none of the other sorcerers, I can't say that word, sorcerers, whatever it's called, they wouldn't train with him. And he kept bringing it up. And the more that he would train with her, he would get angrier. And it's like, are you just constantly reminding him how, like, minimal of support he's providing? Like, he has no magical powers. He doesn't know how to wield a sword very well. He's just there to hold the bags, is what I feel like. And, you know, it's just, it's sad. It's so sad. And so he's, like, trying to tell her that. Everyone's like, no, he's got all this potential. And Coco's stringing him along because they were trying to do a mixed relationship there. That's exactly what was happening. And you know it. Let me just put that a little bit in there.
Is that what that was supposed to be?
She's supposed to be Polynesian, like, looking, and he's white.
I thought she was black.
I don't know. She's mixed of some sort. Anyway. I don't know the exact, I'm like, okay, so you're dragging him along, this poor character, and then you're going to kiss him because you think that that's the right thing to do. Don't do that to me. No. I was so angry at that.
It was pointless. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was meant to make him want to be even better because he was duped by the girl he loved. I don't know why that was in there. Mm-hmm. Can we talk about why she sullied the name Manon?
Uh-huh.
Manon is my favorite character in Throne of Glass. And she just, like, I don't know what, she could have used anybody else. She could have used Lysandra. Did you have to use Manon? That was not okay. I wasn't happy about that. And then did nothing with her. Nothing.
Oh, yeah, no, so when I was reading that part, I thought, my first thought was you. I was like, Dawn ain't gonna like this. Dawn ain't not gonna like this. Girls being thrown through the dirt. And they jacked up her name, too. Let me just say. They did not say her name right.
In the audiobook?
Mm-hmm.
How did they say it?
It was like Manon or whatever. Like, they didn't know how to say it. I was like, it's Manon. Manon. Come on. Let's go.
I think if you're French, it's like Manon. Like Manon.
I don't know.
Our American brain is Manon, but I think it's like Manon.
Manon.
There was a character on Great British Bake Off named Manon, so that's why I say it like that.
It was. I was thinking of that too. That's why I was like, oh, let's see if I said it right. Do we want to talk about the big final moment with, what is he called? Not the Direwood. It's like the King of the Wood or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so when that came out there, I was like, hold up, we just got a whole deeper plot, right? So Ansel's just killed, and all of a sudden, the Dire King is, what's his name?
Devereaux,
right? Devereaux turns out to be this king of stories or whatever, the king who does, I don't know, how would you explain him?
Girl, I gave up. I looked back to find who he was, and they just were like, he was like a fairy tale. Like, it was just stories that people told about this dire king. He's not real, but he's like over things. He's like a big deal. And apparently Morgaine is either afraid of him or
she's afraid of him and his sister.
Was his sister the one that had the ring first?
I think so.
So they basically worship her, his sister. So maybe he is to be worshipped, and Morgaine is like, I'm going to do what I want. And he's like, no, you need to stop. And she don't want to follow him. And I don't know.
Well, because then he pulls this line where he says to Morgaine that Lou could have been their daughter, that she could have been their offspring, which I thought was weird. Because I was like, is she supposed to submit to this all-knowing, like, king of the Dire Wood or whatever? Like, is that supposed to be the true witch's call? I don't know. I don't know where that came from. So I was a little bit confused because it's like, you know, it's a giant cliffhanger, right? Because we're getting thrown all this information. You're like, you know, because Devereaux's been, like, in league with Lou and Reed this whole entire time. You know, he keeps asking Reed, do you want to see your cards? Because it's always going to be the same. Do you want to see your fate? And Reed's like, no, I don't want to. And then he does.
Well, was that ending, like, totally ambiguous? Like, so when Lou comes out of that cave, has she been turned into something? Because she's just like, hey, guys, what's up? But she was, like, in those caves with those witches. So she was possessed.
She was possessed by Nicolina.
Okay.
You know, like, because then, you know, Nicolina's been wanting to get into Reed's pants this whole time. So that's why she goes out and lays a big old fat kiss on him.
Girl, I was skipping. If it didn't seem like it was important, I didn't read it. I'm sorry. This book was long as hell.
The ending. That was the ending, Dawn.
Girl, I was over it. I was just trying to pick up the big pieces. And I felt like I did that.
I think you did. At least based on what we talked about, you know. Yeah. My whole, you know, I think we did a lot of justice to what actually happened in this story, as best as we could. I have some projections for book 3. I think that either we are going to get a more better summed up story from Mahurin, or it's going to be all over the place. Meaning, like, because now Lou is possessed, is she going to be battling internally? Are we going to see that happen? Or is that going to just be like, all of a sudden she's possessed and, we got to switch her. Like, something happened. We got to go change her, you know. Is it going to be us following that through the whole entire story? I don't know.
Feel like they're going to have to find some mermaids to switch her back.
I feel like, and this is just a hypothesis here, I feel like because the men are not supposed to have witchy powers, okay, right? They're not supposed to be warlocks. I feel like Lou is going to turn into her mother, and then Reed is going to step into the place that the Dire Wood King is supposed to be in with Morgaine.
Okay.
That's my thought. Because Reed is powerful. Reed is ridiculously powerful. And I want to know where is this coming from? Why? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I, not shocker, didn't really care enough to form some theories, so I got nothing.
Okay.
I can't expound on that.
I will read book 3. Dawn will not. I will just tell her what happened.
That is correct.
Unless it gets hype, because I made her read Serpent and Dove because it was getting a lot of hype. And you liked it. But one was good.
Yeah, you know what I did? I read it, and it was like a 4. And then I went on BookTube, and that was a mistake. Because everyone was like, this book is trash. And I was like, you're right. And so then I lowered it.
You need to not listen to them. You need to not listen to them, Dawn. No.
They made some good points.
Okay, well, I don't care what they say. This is what Dawn and Ashley say in the universe. Okay? We make up our own rules.
Okay.
We don't follow the crowd. But literally, though, this book has gotten exactly how Dawn and I have critiqued this book. It's either you like it or you hate it. Truly. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, in our next podcast, you want to talk about what we're talking about? You want to tell me what we're talking about?
The book or what we're doing?
The book.
Okay, the next book we are reading is The Black Kids by Christina Hammond Reed. And I like the cover.
It's a great cover.
Yeah, it is about, I believe her name's Ashley, isn't it?
It is.
Her name's Ashley. And she is a senior in high school during the Rodney King riots. And it is about that. It's about, how it's affecting her life. She is a black girl and she lives in a predominantly white suburb and all her friends are white. And then we have this riot going on. And so it's kind of like how all of this fits into her life. Mm-hmm. So read it with us. Well, not with us, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Read it and then come back and listen to the podcast. Mm-hmm. In 2 weeks.
Yep. We might have a little surprise for our universe fans coming soon.
Our fans.
Our followers.
Our
followers.
Yeah, we might have some rebranding happening. And some more like not in person, what the hell, video. Just so you can see what we look like. Because you can't, because we're podcasting, so.
Yeah.
All right. Got anything else to add about Blood and Honey?
Nope. I love the cover.
I didn't understand what was going on in that cover. I was confused, but. And I was looking too. I like covers, but I didn't understand what was happening.
I really like the cover.
Okay. It was nice and shiny and red. I do like the nice red shiny cover.
I do too.
All right. Well, that is all for this podcast, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.